Let me tell you something you already feel, but maybe you've never said out loud. Modern men are lost. Not because they're weak, not because they're stupid, but because the world they live in isn't built for their soul anymore. Every day, a man wakes up and carries invisible weight. The pressure to be strong, the shame of being confused, the guilt of not being far enough, the fear of failing before he even starts. And deep down, he wonders, what's wrong with me? Why does everyone else seem to have it together, except me? But here's the truth no one tells him. Nothing is wrong with him. Something is wrong with the world. And that is exactly why Stoicism, not the fake motivational version, not the Instagram quotes, but the real philosophy lived by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, might be the medicine modern men have been searching for. Today, we're going to walk through their principles, not as history, but as a roadmap for a man who feels disconnected, tired, and quietly drowning. So sit with me, listen, and maybe somewhere in these words, you'll find yourself again. You see, men today are surrounded by noise, but starving for meaning. Everywhere you look, you're told what you should be. Make money, work harder, be confident, don't show emotion, don't complain, fix everything yourself. But nobody ever teaches you how. Nobody teaches you how to deal with failure, how to carry heartbreak, how to face loneliness without breaking, how to be strong without pretending, how to be a man without losing yourself. And so what happens? A man becomes a ghost in his own life. He wakes up tired, goes to work tired, comes home tired. Scrolling becomes his escape. Silence becomes his prison. And dreams slowly rot in the back of his mind. But let me tell you something Marcus Aurelius understood even 2,000 years ago. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Read that again. Not outside events. This is where modern men break. They're trying to control everything except the one thing Stoicism tells us to focus on. The inner world, the mind, the self. When a man loses control of his mind, he loses himself. When he regains it, he becomes unstoppable. Let's be honest. Most men today grew up without guidance. No initiation. No fatherly mentorship. No older men teaching them discipline, purpose, or identity. Just survival. And so you learned life through pain. You learned responsibility from pressure. You learned confidence from rejection. You learned maturity from disappointment. You learned strength by holding everything in. Stoicism doesn't ignore that pain. Stoicism expects it. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are." Not to shame you, not to judge you, but to remind you. Your pain isn't proof that you're broken. Your pain is proof that you're becoming. But society doesn't tell you that. Society tells men, you're toxic, you're dangerous, you're useless, you should be perfect. And so men shut down. They suppress. They pretend. Because it feels safer to disappear than to be misunderstood. And this is exactly why Stoicism hits so hard today. Stoicism doesn't tell men to hide emotions. It teaches men how to rule them. It doesn't tell men to be fearless. It teaches them how to act despite fear. It doesn't tell men to avoid pain. It shows them how to transform it. Let's slow down for a moment and talk about the things men don't say out loud. The fear of not being enough. The shame of not knowing the next step. The quiet loneliness that hits at night. The pressure to provide, even when your own life feels unstable. The weight of expectations you never agreed to carry. You know what Seneca said? We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most modern suffering comes from a mind beating itself up, from comparison, from invisible standards, from trying to be everything except yourself. If you've ever felt like you're constantly behind, like you're failing at life, like everyone else is doing better, you're not alone. You're not failing. You're human. What Stoicism does is help a man finally breathe by focusing only on what he can control. Not the future, not society, not other people, not destiny, just his actions, his choices, his mindset, his character. This is why Stoicism is powerful. It gives a lost man an anchor. And once a man has an anchor, he can rebuild anything. Let me tell you the harsh truth Marcus Aurelius understood. Most men don't fail because of life. They've forgotten how to be patient with themselves. They've forgotten how to build a life, not chase one. They've forgotten how to work steadily, quietly, intentionally. Stoicism helps a man slow down. It teaches him that a strong life is built like a fortress, brick by brick. Let me tell you something painful, but honest. Every man will fail. Every man will fall. Every man will break at some point. But that is not the tragedy. The tragedy is that modern men treat failure like a death sentence. Lose money? You think you're worthless. Get rejected? You think you're unlovable. Lose direction? You think your life is over. But Seneca told us, failure is not falling down, but staying down. The Stoics didn't see failure as an end. They saw it as information, feedback, correction, a sharpening of the soul. Modern men fear failure so much that they stop moving, stop trying, stop risking, stop living. They live frozen, paralyzed, terrified of mistakes. But here's the unexpected truth. Most men don't fail because they tried and lost. Most men fail because they never tried at all. Stoicism doesn't remove fear. It gives you the courage to act anyway. It teaches you something men today desperately need. Failure does not define you. Your response does. Let's talk about something deeper. Men today are surrounded by distractions. Entertainment, comfort, pleasure, noise. But internally, they're starving. Starving for meaning. Starving for direction. Starving for purpose. This is why depression in men is exploding. Not because men are weak, but because men are unfulfilled. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." And look at the world today. Everything is designed to keep a man small and unfocused. Video games that reward him for fake progress. Social media that steals his attention. Porn that drains his drive. Comfort that kills his ambition. Entertainment that replaces real achievement. Most modern men have goals, but no longer have goals worthy of their soul. They're chasing comfort, not purpose. And comfort feels good today, but destroys you slowly. Stoicism brings a man back to the question, why am I here? What am I building? What is my role in this world? Not in a dramatic way, in a grounded, honest, practical way. A man with purpose can endure anything. A man without purpose breaks under even the smallest weight. This is why so many men feel heavy today. They're carrying a life that has no direction. And that leads us to another brutal truth. 2,000 years ago, a young man had guidance. Older men, wiser men, philosophers, warriors, teachers, fathers, uncles, mentors, someone to say, walk this way. Here's how you handle pain. Here's what matters. Here's how to lead. Here's how to control your mind. But today, most men are raised by the internet, or by friends who are just as lost, or by parents who are overwhelmed themselves. Modern men grow up alone, not physically, but spiritually. That's why Stoicism hits so deeply today. Because when Marcus Aurelius writes, you can feel the fatherly guidance. When Seneca speaks, you hear the voice of a mentor. When Epictetus teaches, you hear the wisdom of a man who suffered and still found peace. Stoicism fills a void modern men didn't even know they had. The voice of a wise man guiding them back to themselves. Let's address something important. Men are told two dangerous lies. Lie 1, real men don't feel. Lie 2, real men should be emotionally open like everyone else. Both are wrong. Stoicism teaches a third path, the healthy one. Stoicism doesn't say don't feel. Stoicism says, feel everything, but master yourself. Feel fear, but don't bow to it. Feel anger, but don't be controlled by it. Feel sadness, but don't drown in it. Feel pressure, but don't let it shape your worth. Men today suffer because they swing between two extremes. Suppress everything, or feel everything uncontrollably. But Stoicism teaches emotional discipline. Marcus Aurelius felt deeply. He loved deeply. He worried deeply. But he trained himself not to be ruled by impulses. He wrote, if it's endurable, then endure it. If it's not, then stop complaining. Calm, direct, grounded. That's the emotional strength men desperately need today. Not numbness, Not chaos, but control. Here's the part that might sting. Modern men are lost because they've been disconnected from their own masculinity. Not the toxic version the world complains about. Not the aggressive stereotype. Not the fake alpha nonsense. I mean real masculinity. Strength without cruelty. Responsibility without ego. Leadership without domination. Ambition without emptiness. Calmness without weakness. Discipline without pride. This is the masculinity Marcus Aurelius embodied. This is the masculinity Seneca respected. This is the masculinity Epictetus taught. Modern men are told masculinity is dangerous. No, immature masculinity is dangerous. Mature masculinity saves lives. It builds families. It protects. It stabilizes. It creates. It leads. Stoicism reconnects men with the version of manhood that is ancient, noble, and grounded. The version men have been starving for. So let's answer the big question. Why Stoicism? Why now? Because Stoicism gives men what the modern world took away. 1. Identity. 2. Discipline. 3. Purpose. 4. Strength. 5. Self-control. 6. Resilience. 7. Clarity. It doesn't matter if you're broke, confused, lonely, heartbroken, lost, tired, overwhelmed. Stoicism meets you where you are and teaches you how to rise. Not by force, not by pretending to be tough, but by shaping the mind so the world can no longer break it. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." And maybe, just maybe, the reason you're struggling is because life is trying to shape you into someone stronger than you ever imagined. You know, if we're being honest, most modern men aren't lost because they're weak. They're lost because the world has become so loud that they can't hear themselves anymore. Think about it. When's the last time a man truly sat alone, without a phone, without music, without notifications, and just listened to his own thoughts? Most men today are drowning quietly, drowning in silent anxiety, pressure they can't explain, expectations they can't meet, fear of disappointing everyone, and the shame of not being enough. And here's the sad part. They carry all of this alone, because in 2025, being a man often feels like being a problem. You're supposed to be strong, but not too strong. Vulnerable, but not too vulnerable. Successful, or you'll be judged. Humble, or you'll be mocked. Ambitious, but also patient. Confident, but avoid ego. Soft, but also firm. Everything contradicts everything. No wonder modern men feel lost. Stoicism doesn't shame you for this. It doesn't tell you to hide your struggles. It simply says, here is how you carry the weight without breaking. And this is where your life begins to change. Let me tell you a short story. It's not a dramatic story. It's not a heroic story. It's the type of story that happens every single day, quietly. A fictional man, let's call him Daniel. Daniel is 27. He wakes up every morning with this tight feeling in his chest. It's not panic. It's not fear. Just this heavy pressure that never really goes away. He scrolls his phone. He sees men his age buying houses, getting married, starting companies, traveling the world. And Daniel? Daniel still feels like he's trying to start his life. He goes to work. He puts on a smile. He jokes with colleagues. But inside, his mind is running. I should have done more by now. I'm behind. Everyone is doing better than me. I don't know what I want. Why am I always tired? Sound familiar? When he gets home, he sits on his bed, and everything hits him at once. That's when the real battle begins. The battle you don't post on Instagram. The battle you don't tell your friends. The battle you don't even fully understand yourself. Daniel doesn't cry. He doesn't scream. He doesn't break down dramatically. He just sits there, quietly drowning, and no one knows. This is the life of millions of men today. But here's where Stoicism walks into Daniel's life like an old friend. Not to judge him, not to fix him, but to remind him, you are not broken. You're simply overwhelmed. And here's how you rise. Marcus Aurelius would look at Daniel and say, if you're distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Epictetus would say, You suffer because you imagine yourself to be what you are not. Seneca would say, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary." And what does that mean for the modern man? It means this. 1. You aren't behind. You're distracted. Society made you believe you're late, but Stoicism brings you back to your lane. 2. You don't lack motivation. You lack clarity. Most men aren't lazy. They're overwhelmed by too many choices. 3. You aren't weak. You're untrained. Your mind is powerful, but no one taught you how to use it. 4. You don't fear failure. You fear shame. You're scared of people seeing you fall. Stoicism teaches you to see failure as fuel. 5. You don't hate your life. You hate your lack of direction. Once you start walking towards something meaningful, everything changes. And here's the thing modern men need to understand. The world will not slow down for you, but you can slow down for yourself and become stronger than the world. If you were 16 again, and a Stoic philosopher sat beside you, he'd say, "Listen, life is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to challenge you, not to break you, but to shape you." He'd continue, "You're going to feel lost at times. You're going to feel confused. You're going to feel like you have no idea what you're doing." Then he'd say, "But that's normal. Even emperors felt like that." And imagine young you sitting there, hearing this truth that schools never teach. A man becomes himself through struggle, not comfort. Comfort numbs you. Pressure builds you. Struggle reveals you. Stoicism would teach that young version of you. Don't chase validation. Don't compare timelines. Don't fear failure. Don't hate discomfort. Don't run from responsibility. Run towards it, because responsibility is the very thing that gives men their identity and their strength. Whether you're 19, 29, or 49, Stoicism says every man must conquer 3 battles. Battle 1, the battle with his mind. Your thoughts are not you. You're the observer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Win this battle, and your entire life changes. Battle 2, the battle with comfort. Comfort kills ambition. Seneca said, "Leave your comfort zone." Hardship strengthens the mind. A man becomes powerful when he stops chasing the easy path. Battle 3, the battle with fear. Fear is not the enemy. Avoiding fear is. Epictetus said, "Nothing is more powerful than the mind that has conquered fear." A man who has faced himself becomes unstoppable. This is the part of the video where you hand them the roadmap. You tell them, when you feel lost, don't try to restart your whole life. Start with these 4 Stoic steps. Step 1, simplify your life. Remove noise. Remove chaos. Remove meaningless habits. Step 2, master your internal narrative. Replace, "I'm behind, I'm building. I don't know what to do. I'll choose one thing today. I'm not enough, I'm improving daily." Step 3, build discipline through small promises. Make small agreements with yourself and honor them. Step 4, embrace discomfort. Cold showers, early mornings, hard conversations, less screen time, more purpose time. Each act of discomfort makes you stronger than yesterday. Every man has that one moment, that one night, where everything finally hits him. He looks at his life and says, "Enough." That moment is not weakness. It's not breakdown. It's rebirth. Stoicism teaches, a man becomes unlost when he stops running from himself. The moment he sits with his mind, the moment he breathes through his fears, the moment he chooses direction over distraction, he becomes someone new. Not perfect, not fearless, not superhuman, just present. And present men are powerful men. Here's where your video speaks directly into the soul. You say, "Listen, you're not broken. You're not failing. You're not behind. You're not weak. You are becoming. And becoming is messy. But Stoicism is here to guide you through the fire, not around it." Marcus Aurelius said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." If your life feels heavy right now, good. It means you're being called to grow. So here's the truth modern men were never told. You don't need motivation. You need direction. Asterisk, asterisk. You don't need perfection. You need progress. Asterisk, asterisk. You don't need validation. You need purpose. Asterisk, asterisk. And Stoicism? It gives you all three.